To go with the color theme for this show, I decided to make a batik tablecloth. Now, I know we've already done batik on the show using a janting, which is a little tool that you draw with. But this time I'm using a completely different kind of tool. It's a block, and basically I got these made quite a long time ago when I was at university. It wasn't that long ago, actually. And I did a drawing on a piece of paper. I took the piece of paper to a joiner, and basically he just took a piece of plywood and with a jigsaw cut out the block, attached a little handle. It's a perfect tool to use for your batik, right? So this is the tool that I'm going to be using today, and I actually have two of them. Now, for the batik wax mixture, you've got a mixture of beeswax as well as paraffin wax. That's important. If it's just paraffin wax, it cracks too much. If it's just beeswax, it doesn't crack enough. So you want to make sure you have a good combination of the two. And I've had the wax heating for quite a long time now to get it to a good temperature where it's hot enough but not too hot, right? If it's too hot, it sort of burns the fabric. It doesn't really sort of absorb into the fabric. It bubbles up. If it's not hot enough, the wax just sits on the surface of the fabric, and that doesn't work either. You want to make sure that when you stamp your wax, the wax goes through to the other side of the fabric as well. Okay, so I've got a little drip cloth, and I'm keeping my block inside the wax because the wood actually needs to be very warm. Otherwise, as soon as I take the block out, the wax cools and it's no good, right? So what I've got is a piece of white linen. You can use white cotton if you want. And it's 2.5 yards because it's going to fit on my dining table. We've washed it with soap. Make sure you wash it, otherwise the wax doesn't absorb, the dye won't absorb properly. And we've just basically stitched the edge up like so. And what I did was I've measured out in the middle, in the absolute middle of my fabric, a sort of rectangle. And if you take a look here, you'll see that the rectangle has masking tape on it. And that is really just a guide to let me know where I'm going to use my block. And it's important to have some sort of guide because you don't want to be doing it sort of willy-nilly unless that's what you want. I'm just going to do a very simple border on the inside of my masking tape area. All right, so let's spread that out. If you notice here, I've also got fabric on the table. The fabric on the table is folded into 4, so I have a little bit of padding on which to work so that there's some kind of shock absorption, if you like, for the block when I put it down onto the table. All right, so here we go. We're going all the way, spreading this out nice and evenly. Try and get it nice and flat. Take it, very quickly move it to my fabric, put it down, and give it a good press into place. And there's my perfect wax pattern. Let this get a little warm again. Let me show you what the back is meant to be looking like. You want to make sure that, whoops, the wax is going right through to the back of the fabric, just like that. Otherwise, if it's not going to work. It won't work as a resist. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to put the last stamp down. In the middle like so. Right, and I'm just going to peel the fabric off the bottom like so. Right, and what you'll see, there we go. I'm going to take off my masking tape. Right, so let's get that out of the way. And then I'm going to just mix up my dye now. So here I've got a half a bucket of water, just plain water. I'm going to use rubber gloves for this. When I was younger, I never used rubber gloves when I was doing dyeing, and the result was nasty fingernails all the time. So I'm going to put some rubber gloves on. All right, there we go. I'm going to rubber glove. We've got a little bowl of water here. a little too much. Right, so into this, I'm going to put 8 tablespoons of salt. 1, 2, and let's just call that 8, right? And I'm going to put 6 teaspoons of dye. The dye we're using is Procyon dye. You get Procyon dyes at very good art shops. Procyon dyes are great because they're cold water dyes, which is excellent when you're using wax, because if you use a hot water dye, it'll melt your wax and the process won't work, right? 6, right? And then, let me just use my spoon. I'm going to mix that up into a little paste. All right, so there's my paste. Now you see this in here? This is lethal. Do not, whatever you do, get this on your clothes, because this is just going to stain. Let's put this here. And I'm going to stir this. So I've stirred this for about 30 seconds to a minute. And I'm just going to plonk my whole piece of fabric in there. And I'm going to make sure it gets properly immersed. Two tablespoons of baking soda, right? Which I've diluted in some water. So that's coming in here. Okay, so I have been stirring this for about half an hour now, and what you want to do is you want to take it, rinse your fabric out under some water, just a little bit, and then hang it out and leave it to dry. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to show you how to get the wax out. Our fabric has dried completely. Unfortunately, it's a little more grey than it is black, but I think it's still very, very pretty. And what I'm going to show you now is how to get rid of the wax. So I'm going to iron out the wax. So once again, I'm using that piece of fabric that I had on the table earlier, and it's doubled up, so that's going to be at the bottom. I'm going to take my tablecloth. I've actually been getting rid of most of the wax already. Take some newspaper. So I'm just going to focus on this particular area here. Put your newspaper there. And then this is going to come here. And you're just really going to iron over it. If I lift, you can actually see that the wax is coming out. And there you have it. One very, very pretty tablecloth. Albeit grey, but it's going to go beautifully with our table and all our great food that we've made. And there you have all the things we did today. We set the table with some marvelous things. I got beautiful candles, cheap candles, red, white, black. We have our red anthuriums and ginger lilies. We managed to find some blue corn chips, which look a little bit sort of grey with some white sour cream. We have squid ink pasta, our doodahs, and our beautiful sushi. I also plonked on the table whatever was red in the house that might look nice, and you could try and do the same. Have a themed party that has to do with colors. It's great fun. I just wanted to congratulate the Soca Warriors once again. That's it for Sankosh, and I'll see you next time.